Hi everybody and welcome back to episode 12 of Land of the Knuckleheads. Now, if you haven't been with us for the previous 11 episodes, I encourage you to go back and have a look. What is a knucklehead? A knucklehead, for me, is a term of endearment. Maybe you've worked for a manager who's done something stupid, done something hurtful, and you've been damaged in the process. You know, there's no point in us standing around and, doing the moan and complain about our managers and the way they treat us. What I'd rather you do is have some tools on how to deal with them. So I created Land of the Knuckleheads so that you would have something to work with to create better outcomes for yourself. So what we're going to do, we're going to poke fun at some of the stupid things that managers do and give you some tools to improve. Okay, so this is episode 12. What we're going to take on today is something that I call Mission Impossible. Yeah, I know Tom Cruise is not coming on. I'm not going to interview him. It'd be kind of cool if we could. But what I really want to think about here is the manager that asks you to do something that is just physically impossible, right? It happens all the time. Managers have this sense that, well, I'll just dump it on my employees. They'll get it done and I can go home and golf. Well, look, guys, if you're doing that to your employees, first of all, it's a technical term. It's stupid. You need to get that. It's stupid. But if we can set priorities and help our employees develop the capacity to do the work that we need and delegate to them in a way that enables them to succeed, we all win. Now, I want you to think about one other thing. If you're the kind of manager that likes to dump all your work on your employees, I'm going to tell you a little bit about motivational theory. There has been some great research that has shown that moderately difficult goals are the most motivating thing for high performers. But you know what's really interesting about that? What I just said is that impossible goals demotivate. Simple goals demotivate your highest performers. You know who's motivated by impossible goals and simple goals? Your low performers. So some of you out there, in thinking that, oh, I'm going to get to my golf game and I'm going to give all my work to my employees and let them figure it out, are actually setting yourself up for an just abject failure by creating your highest performers into low performers, and your low performers get cemented into your system and you fail. So don't do that. Set reasonable expectations, make difficult goals, but achievable goals. It's really, really critical. Now, if you're the kind of employee that has the manager that lives the episodes of Mission Impossible, I've got a little bit of advice for you. First of all, as I said earlier, don't judge them. Solve the problem. It doesn't do you any good to stand around doing the BMW, something, moan, and whine. BMW. Yeah, don't do the BMW. Don't do the, moan and whine. It doesn't help you. And actually, it hurts you significantly. And here's why. Because what ends up happening when you do that is you get branded as the negative and can't do employee. All that's going to do is lead you into the doghouse with your manager. So don't do it, guys. Don't judge them. Don't complain. Don't whine. Don't moan. Don't do any of that. What I want you to do, 2 simple points. First of all, learn how to negotiate your priorities. How many of you employees out there are so busy complaining about what your boss has got you doing that you haven't actually negotiated with them, what are the most important priorities in my day, boss? Can we just sit down and work through the top 5 things that I need to accomplish to be successful? If you had that conversation more often, I think you'd find that you become more successful. Now, every now and again, you're going to deal with a boss who isn't interested in negotiating your priorities. So I got a simple solution for you. Do it for them. Tell them what you're working on. And if you got to miss something, miss the least important task, the least important goal. If you do that, I think you'll find that you actually are protecting yourself. Now, here's the other interesting thing. Let's say your boss, I don't want to talk about priorities. You're supposed to know how to do your job. Maybe you've got that kind of manager. You go to him and say, well, boss, here are the top things I'm going to be working on today. And if there's any problems, please let me know. Now, what do you think is going to happen if you put number 5 as number 1? They can't help themselves. Well, wait a minute. You've got the most important priority as the bottom one and the least important as the top. Hey, you just got them talking to you. So make sure that you negotiate your priorities so you know what the top 4 or 5 are and you're always working on them. And oh, by the way, always work on the top priorities. Do not slack off. Do not sit around and complain and not do your work. You need to perform at your highest level if you want to be able to negotiate with your boss. It's really, really critical. Point number 2, Anticipate your priorities. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, the funny thing about knuckleheaded bosses is they have a tendency to repeat themselves. It's Friday afternoon and they've dumped on you on a Friday afternoon before. Guess what they're going to do this Friday afternoon? Chances are they're going to dump on you. Now, if you are a proactive person and you can anticipate that dump, that seagull coming in, swoop, poop, flying away, if you can anticipate that, guess what? You can get ahead of it. You can actually go out and start doing some of the work in advance. I'll give you a perfect example. There was a time I was new in a position and I knew that over the course of the first 90 days, I had to come up with a very good plan in order to be successful in my role. And I'll never forget, my boss comes to me on day number 75 and he's like, Ron, what are you planning to do with your area of responsibility? And I had prepared in advance this strategic document of exactly what I wanted to work on over the next year. And I set it in front of him and totally blew him away. Now, how would I know to do that? It's because I was being proactive and I knew that eventually he was going to ask me for a plan on what I needed to do. Slightly different situation perhaps than what you're facing, but the idea is that I prepared the plan before he asked for it. And I think that's so key. In anticipating priorities, you can always be thinking about what is important to my boss. What do I need to prepare before he asks me? Because if you can get to the point, like radar from MASH 4077, where you can anticipate what's being said before it's being said, you will always be ahead and you can actually solve problems before they come up. You can manage your priorities much better, and ultimately it will lead to a less stressful existence as you work for this boss and blow them away with what you're capable of. Remember, perform at your highest, negotiate your priorities, and if they won't negotiate, kind of backdoor negotiate it. Like, tell them what you're going to do and see if they correct you, and then anticipate whenever you can the priorities that are coming at you and do a great job on all of the ones that are most important that you think are coming. And I think you're going to buy some time in the future and create a much lower level of stress. So this is Ron Hurst for Land of the Knuckleheads. Hope you've gotten some value out of this. Thank you. Lead well.